So if you have a home that has negative energy, it can make you sick. If that home stresses you out, okay, and this is what happens in childhood a lot. You're in a home with the alcoholic, or you're in a single family home, and the parent, your mother is working, two jobs, so she's not there anyway. So these can be stressful relationships. And remember, I told you the first 7 years of your life, you are really hypnotized. So whatever you saw in your home that first 7 years, it can affect you. So that relationship, early childhood relationship, your high school, somebody dumped you, and didn't show up for the prom. It can cause a permanent effect on you. So you want to make sure you don't have toxic relationships. You can overwork. I always tell people, don't let a job kill you. Okay. You can't keep going to a job and an environment that's stressful. It is a trigger. You're going to be in fight or flight, and then you're going to have tissue damage. Then you're going to have disease. And then what happens is you're in a stressful work situation, and you bring that stress home, and then you stress out your spouse and your kids. And so you're bringing negative energy into your personal space. You have poor boundaries. Okay. You don't know how to say no. So you get overwhelmed with obligations, and
I
you
have
have
a
a poor.
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you consider stress to be contagious?
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's what we're talking about with energy. You can tell when a person is stressed out. Okay. You can tell when a person is happy. You can tell when a person is anxious. Most of the language most of the interaction we get from another person is through body language. Okay. It's not what they say, it's what you see. It's like they said, we would rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. I'd rather see what you do than hear what you have to say. So yes, it's definitely contagious. This is what I'm saying. You go into a stressful home. If you go into somebody's home, you can feel that there's discord in that home. You can feel that something's not right here. And you need to, and I'm going to tell you, the more you quiet your mind and you get in touch with your intuition, the more you're going to be able to feel where you should be and where you should not be. And that is a great skill, is to say, this is not right for me, or this is right for me. And that's all a part of what we're going to talk about. Once you can quiet your mind, you can start letting your intuition start to guide you, and you not guided by your circumstances. That's how you overcome your circumstances. It's not to be guided by where you are, but what your intuition is telling you you should go. So I hope I answered that question. Yes, if you're in a stressful place, you need to figure out how you can remove yourself from that place. All right. Or there are some other options I'm going to talk about. And so those are stressors that you know about. But what I am trying to help you with is we can test and discover the stressors that you don't know about. That splinter in your hand, you can see that one. But the things that are inside, like, are there splinters in your gut? And what I'm saying about that is that your gut is a filter. You can look at it like a coffee filter. If you get holes in that coffee filter, then you're gonna get coffee grains in your coffee, and you don't want coffee grains in your coffee. So that's what happens with the gut. When the gut is damaged or inflamed, the gut is only supposed to let nutrients in and keep toxins out. But when you damage the gut, either through antibiotics or through different chemicals that you might be ingesting, or processed foods and all of the chemicals that are in that, it can cause little splinters or holes in your gut. And that's how you get food allergies, because your body doesn't want to see a piece of chicken. It wants to see the amino acids and the fatty acids that are a part of that chicken. That's what your body can use. If it sees a piece of chicken, it sees that as a foreign body, and it will make antibodies to chicken. And now you have this low level of inflammation in your body. That's how you get food sensitivity. So every time you eat chicken, and these are what we call delayed sensitivities. It's not like when someone eats shellfish and their face blows up and they can't breathe. Anybody can know that they're allergic to shellfish if that happens, or peanuts if that happens. But you can be allergic to chicken, and you have this low level of inflammation, And that's what causes the brain fog. You know how you can't think when you have the flu or you have a cold? Just if you dial that down a few levels, then that's that low level chronic inflammation that food sensitivities can give you. So it can make you feel like you're about to get sick, but you never get there. So what happens is you get foggy thinking, you get these muscle aches, you get fatigue, and that is all caused by food sensitivities that you don't even know about. Okay. And then we talked about the toxins that we inhale just by going outside. I live in a big city, Atlanta. And so I'm always breathing in toxins. You're always taking in toxins through the food that you eat. Hormone imbalances. That was our first book. Are your hormones making you sick? If your hormones are out of balance, it's a stressor. Okay, your thyroid is, thyroid hormones out of balance. We all, know when that's out of balance, we start to feel tired. When estrogen and progesterone are out of balance, or testosterone is out of balance, eventually it's going to cause cortisol to be out of balance, or vice versa. If you have cortisol out of balance, it's going to eventually lead to your hormones being out of balance. So it's a domino effect. And then we talked about food sensitivities. So you got to identify the stress, and in Ageless Blueprint in our school group, we're going to be able to deliver tests and have consultations so that you can actually identify those hidden stressors, because those are the problems, those ones that you don't know about, that you don't have immediate control over, that somehow, some way you need to identify those. So that is the important part. Try and do the things that you can do, and then we will also try and help you to do the things that you don't know about. So if you can get rid of the stress, then that's the great thing to do. Now, if you can't get rid of the stress, because sometimes the stressors are your parents, they're sick, you have to take care of them, they're having dementia, you have a sick child that has some chronic illness that needs to be taken care of, or you have a job that you just cannot get rid of, or just any situation, then you want to change how you respond to the stress. And that is what I neglected for the first 25 years of my practice, is how do you change your response to stress? So let's go to the next slide. All right. So what you have to do is to try and have to activate your rest and repair. So you have to try and get out of that fight or flight. And I won't say the only way, but the best way to do it is to try and quiet those thoughts. I'm a spiritual MD, so the Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Okay, and we also talk about how he or she, however you want to think about the spirit or whatever. We're not getting into religion. We're talking about spirituality. Is that not only do you need to be quiet, but it's also said that the universe or spirit or God speaks in a still small voice. So how are you going to know what your purpose is and know what your life is about if you can't be still and be quiet and try and listen to this inner voice or however you think the higher self speaks to you? Is that you have to be still, you have to be quiet. And that's, I think, what most people fear is being alone with themselves. Okay. And I know that personally. I used to always have to have something on. I used to have the radio on in the car. I used to have the TV on or be on the computer. But when you can be comfortable with being by yourself with your thoughts, that is when you really, that's when you really can disconnect from stress, is when you can be alone and be quiet and be satisfied. All right. So that's how you activate rest and repair. And you have to shift your nervous system out of that fight or flight into your rest and digest. Now, there's something called heart rate variability, and you can get this on a lot of apps in the App Store or Google Play or whatever. And we also do that in our office. It's heart rate variability. And what that means is that if you've ever had a baby or you're a husband and you were in the labor or delivery, and again, I was originally an OBGYN. We used to look at the baby's fetal heart rate to see if the baby was okay. All right. And if you've ever been in labor and delivery, the more that fetal heart rate varies, the better that baby is doing. So this is how heart rate variability works. I'm going to try and explain it as best I can. So your body is always trying to create this delicate balance. Okay. And so whenever something's out of balance, the sympathetic nervous system is supposed to identify it, correct it, and then the parasympathetic says, so we got that back in order. Or anything else out of balance. So it's constantly making these minute changes. You got to think how intricate your body is. It's got to make these minute changes, and then it should recover. So the sympathetic nervous system is the elevation, and then when it goes down, so it should vary a lot. Okay, where it's making these minute little changes. When your heart rate variability is flat, and you're not able to respond to those small changes, that's when disease happens. A flat heart rate variability actually increases your risk of death by like 5 or 6 years. I could give you the exact statistics. So you have to be able to activate that parasympathetic or that rest and digest system. And it needs to be doing it on a constant basis. Okay. So you have to be able to disconnect from whatever is around you, causing that stress, so your heart rate variability can do what it's supposed to do. Does that make sense, Rebel?
I think it does, but
Yeah.
it's not easy to think about it when you're in that stressful state.
I know. Yeah. And so that's where I'm gonna get to next. So how do you actually do it? And I'll tell you, I'm telling you everything from experience. Okay. So this is not something that I read about. It's not something that somebody told me. It is something that somebody told me, but I actually did it and I know that it works. Okay. So building daily rituals. I'm going to talk about that when we want to prepare for future stress, but you need to have a daily